There was a staleness lingering in the air due to the amount of bone-dry hundred-year-old documents scattered around the room. The big oval room was solitary besides the constant rapping on the window by a cherry tree, imitating a metronome on the glass window. I looked down toward my son Donnie minding his own business on his chair reading a book. You know, back when your grandpa was just a kid, if the president died, there'd be a vice president that took over, kind of like a backup president. But why didn't Grandpa have a vice president? Donnie questioned, looking up from his story interested. His gaze shifted, now from the portraits on the wall, then an intent look directly at my pupils. Well, at some point, the people in charge decided once you were elected as president, you had to stay president forever. Not forever exactly, you see, but until one of three things happen. The president goes crazy, dies of natural causes, or gets assassinated. And that's why Daddy always puts on this bulletproof vest every single morning so that that last option will never happen. I explain, trying to make it as understandable as I can for my 9-year-old who has no concept of what the government is, besides once third grade social studies. He probably still had no idea what I was saying, but I needed to talk to someone. It was too solemn. Daddy, are you going to get asternated? Donnie looked up, raising his eyebrows in a confused manner with all the curiosity in the world within his voice. My attempt to make it less solemn had ironically made the mood more serious than ever before. Well, the word is assassinated, and nobody. Don't worry about that stuff. Go get a snack. I patted him on the back as he got up from his chair and nudged him towards the hall. It's tough to promise your own son that you'll be alright when you're not even sure of that answer yourself. Hopefully, my father's killers aren't still holding a grudge. After all, what he did for the country was for the greater good, and actually for the whole earth for that matter. I send Donnie up to bed and head to my office. In my office, Erica, my secretary, was anxiously waiting for me to arrive. She hands me a stack of documents, which I am in charge of reading and sorting through. Fun. That's the life of the president. Gets monotonous sometimes, but I got used to it. You know, Erica, I'd trade anything in the world right now to be laying on the beach, carefree, with the burden of presidency off my shoulders, I explain, looking out the window, seeing the dark sky mirroring the outlook of my current predicament. You sold your soul for this burden. You want to be your dad's successor as president, not me. I'm just delivering your paperwork, sir, my innocent secretary says, walking away to avoid any further venting or commentary from me. I don't blame her. I wouldn't have wanted to listen to me either. I took a seat in the brown leather swivel chair, glancing up at the clock, back to my papers, then back to the three-handed clock. Time flies when you're having fun. That's why my 10 months in office has felt like 10 years. Kind of like a hydra in Greek mythology. You cut off one head of the beast, and just when you think you've conquered the dragon, two more heads grow back in its place, giving you twice the problems. That describes what this presidency is like to me. I don't know how my father did it. I just wish I had a way out of this presidency without having to leave in a body bag. My eyes drooped, my head bobbing up and down, eyelids seemed to gravitate closer. I couldn't handle the day's stress, so I let myself drift off. I was out. I'd been defeated by the daily hydra. The next morning, I woke up to Erica shaking my shoulders off the desk in a panic. I darted up, reliving my childhood memories of middle school, teachers startling me during a boring history lesson. I directed my fullest attention to my secretary as she had a look of importance and urgency in her eyes. Sir, we've just received a credible threat via phone call, coming from the same unnamed group that assassinated your father. Alarmed, I jolted up out of my previously relaxed condition and asked, well, what do they want? I really did not want to hear the answer, but it was my responsibility, so I had to ask the question. Well, sir, they claim to have unfinished business with us and are willing to call it off in exchange for $100 million. Standing up, pounding my fist into the mahogany table. Nope, nope, nope. That's absurd. Besides, we do not negotiate with terrorists. But sir, I don't think you're understanding. They threatened your life if we don't pay them. We are not throwing away millions of dollars in taxpayers' money. This is nonsense. Why are we even discussing this? Your father had the same attitude, sir, and look what happened to him. Learn from the past. You're screwing yourself over. Visibly frustrated, Erica stormed out of the office door, slamming it on her way out, knocking over a book from display. She was right, though. My father only got to leave the office as president with a bullet lodged in his chest, and that is not what I wanted, as much as I hated this job. As the days turned into months, we didn't hear a single word from the terrorist group, and never paid their ransom. That was until one beautiful sunny afternoon in Washington, D.C. I started my day like any other. I put my pants on one leg at a time, parted my touch of gray hair, and brushed my teeth. My family and I were on our way to Mass at our local church. Donnie had forgotten his tie, so we sent him back with one of the bodyguards to retrieve it. The air was crisp. There was not a cloud in the sky, only a trail left behind from a jet. My wife strolled beside me, her fingers intertwined with mine. Crack! Thud! I'd been hit. The terrorists stayed true to their word. This was it. This was the end. I could not feel much pain, but that was most likely due to shock. My wife rushed over to my collapsed body. I looked to my left, seeing Donnie release the bodyguard's hand and dash towards me. The bodyguard won't let anyone near me through. Fearing imminent death, I kept my movements quick and precise. I felt my chest for blood, expecting the worst. Nothing. Was I dying already? Did my body go numb? Then it hit me. No, not another bullet, but rather an epiphany. My bulletproof vest. I was wearing my bulletproof vest. I was saved by my bulletproof vest. This was it. This was my big break. I stopped moving and stayed completely still. The shrill sirens of the ambulance are already near. Within moments, I am loaded onto the ambulance and whisked away. Instantly, I know my only chance at life is to die. Not for my family, but for the public. I must have it end here. Once we pull away from the scene, I speak and startle my bodyguard and the paramedic like they have seen a ghost. They realize that the lack of blood is because I have sustained no significant injuries. I plead with them for their loyalty and secrecy. I must be declared dead, or I can never live again. There is a bounty on my head here, and I will never be free if I must serve President until death. They see my tortured expression and agree. We head toward the hospital, but as we near, I switch places with my bodyguard, and he gets on the gurney, and he has the sheet pulled over his face to indicate there is a lifeless body beneath it. I put on his dark trench coat and sunglasses and slide into the waiting limo at the emergency area and am whisked away to a safe house where I will be united with my wife and son as the world is told of my tragic death. As the country prepares for my funeral, we prepare for a new beginning. In my story, the book and author I was trying to emulate was my classic book by Joe Heller, Catch-22. In the story I read, the majority of the story is being told in the past tense, first person, by the main character in which I used in my story. Also, the central idea of the story I read is based off of a catch-22 or a paradox where there is no correct answer. In my story, I imitated this by having my character want to get out of being president, but in order to get out of being president, he would have to be dead. So my character outsmarted the system and found a loophole to get what he wanted, like Yasarian did in Catch-22. I also used symbolism when the main character referred to the Hydra as a representation for his job as the president. Symbolism is apparent in the book I read frequently to portray a repeated message to the reader. Also, the last style I put into this work was the short, choppy sentences when my main character had been shot. I did this just like Heller did in his wartime story, to make it seem like you were in a rush because you were reading such quick and abrupt sentences as if you were in a hurry, just like someone was dying in the story. Thank you for watching my video.